जादू मंतर, जादू मंतर, जादू मंतर। You are going into the future.
You talking to me?
They always be these clothing.
என் பேர் மாணிக்கம். எனக்கு இன்னொரு பேர் இருக்கு.
Talking to
The
me?
queen is dead.
Hello. As you can tell, I am not Dhruv. This is Varun. Dhruv and I are going to be talking today about Hammer Productions, or as this episode is correctly called, Hammer Horror. Two horror films from the House of Hammer, or the House of Horror, whatever you want to call it. And it was supposed to be a more packed panel. We were supposed to have Amartya and a friend of mine, Prakhar, also, but both of them have
I think
better
she
things
just
to
has
do.
she just has bad luck. Whenever she records, that doesn't get recorded, and when
Yeah.
in this she just can't make it. So
No, that got
so-
recorded. It
Yeah,
just
that's
got
it.
locked behind a
Lost.
paywall.
Yes. So whatever reasons, but like
So,
Prakhar
yeah.
has just been unlucky, I suppose, in terms of recording. But we'll get her sometime. We have lots being recorded
Yes.
every month. So yeah.
Yeah. Dhruv is trying to convince people of the prodigious output of Queen is Dead.
I am the one who's producing it. But every half month, I basically like post whatever next month is going to happen.
Yeah.
And then
Are
after
you
posting,
are you looking forward to a good next weekend when Kajol's new movie comes out?
I have no idea what's coming out. Okay, so I have literally like I barely go to the cinema myself. I've watched so much of the stuff at home. But whatever, like I've been planning stuff to do with noir films for next month. I was then thinking December में भी कुछ करते हैं funky, and then when
Christmas
the time
movies.
Christmas,
Home Invasion.
I can't do all Christmas stuff, but
Home Alone, sir. We just talked about Home Alone.
yeah, Home Alone 2 starring the president also, right? So
The ex-president. So for now, at least, I don't know when you're
yes.
planning to release this.
No, but no, my point is I plan it, and then when the time comes to record, and then I'm like edit भी करना है, फिर market भी करना है, कितना कुछ करना पड़ता है, दिमाग खराब हो जाता है. Like it's that feeling. Anyways,
You should sign up with. I already gave you that, so you can just sign up with one of those and they'll do the rest of the work for you. You just need to record it. So-
better not to give money to anyone right now, I think. So it's okay.
Yeah, or give your IP to somebody else,
Yeah, that is also true. Yes.
which has been quite the thing with the first film we're going to be discussing. But a little bit of background for that. Hammer Productions is a British production company, of course. It came into being in the late 1930s, and it started out as, funnily enough, a production house that was making comedies.
Hmm.
Then it segued into science fiction, and sometime around the mid-50s, it arrived at horror,
Yeah.
and it realized there was a mass market for it.
Yeah.
These were not lavishly mounted films; they were almost like Kota Quickies or studio films.
What are Kota Quickies, Varun? I'll
Kota
be
Quickies are
the
very quickly shot films on the
yeah.
backlot.
Yeah, I
believe.
mean, yeah, and another sort of way of putting it is like double
Double
features,
bills, you
essentially.
could-
Double bills,
yeah.
yeah.
Market them as those.
Yeah.
And it sort of came to a point where they started out with a couple of things, and then one fine day they turned their attention to Bram Stoker's
Yeah.
Dracula.
I mean, you're saying a couple of things. I did see the thing which started
you did
everything.
watch Quatermass,
Because
the
I was
science fiction
I
horror
was very
movie.
diligent being the student of this episode, considering
Yeah.
I made Varun the head for this so that I don't have to do all the
Yet you've done
preparation
more
work.
work.
That is my like I've not watched a single Hammer horror film before today, so I was
Same.
also I was curious, right? It's
Yeah.
one of those things where I've heard about them in bits and pieces, but not
Hmm.
generally. But yeah, I did watch what's that thing?
Quatermass.
Quatermass Experiment. So I think that was based on like a radio play.
Okay.
Like the BBC radio play, they converted into a film. The film became a huge hit
So basically, the Citizen Kane of science fiction horror movies.
for Britain. Let's be very clear. It's not a good movie, firstly.
Okay.
And
Who directed
it's
it?
I didn't note down. Sorry.
Okay. No worries.
No, but none of the people who sort of became regulars after. Anyways, big
Okay.
difference. Black and white. It's in black and white. It's if people are familiar with, which is why I think I messaged on the group. I am curious to go and look back at 1950s horror sci-fi.
Hmm.
It's a bit like that. The Quatermass Experiment is science fiction horror, so it has a
Okay.
lot of the Cold War. Like it's not
Yeah.
there in this as much as it is as it's in the U.S. movies that came at that time.
Yeah.
But the Cold War paranoia of something comes from
Yeah.
somewhere, and that something starts to manifest itself in other people
Yeah.
in your country, and the paranoia that comes from that. All of that is there.
Imagine taking a very real thing like communism, turning it into sci-fi material.
It's all there, but all the 50s were full of this. There's I don't think you've seen it because you're not that much into science fiction,
Sci-fi.
but
Yeah.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers is a quintessential text for
Okay.
that, which 1956, and then it got remade later. But yeah, this isn't a great movie, and I think some of the problems that this has sort of transmute into one of the films we are going to talk about, not so much in the
Hmm.
other one. But yeah, this was the film which apparently made them realize that there's a market for horror,
Okay.
and we should tap into that.
Right.
And where did they decide to tap into?
Yeah.
Um,
So, among other things, what Hammer really produced a lot of were film franchises.
hmm,
Four of them.
hmm,
Quatermass spawned one.
hmm,
Frankenstein, the creation of Mary Shelley,
yeah.
spawned the other. The Mummy, as
Hmm.
we know it, we're probably more familiar with Brendan Fraser, I suppose.
Yes, yeah. Our whoever's listening to us, if anyone is, then
Our
yes.
our vintage is Brendan Fraser, not Tom Cruise, which is far too
Oh,
recent.
my God, the Tom Cruise one is so bad. Not that I remember much of the Brendan Fraser one also,
And
but
the fourth franchise was Dracula,
yeah,
which was Bram Stoker's creation.
yeah. And all these films, at least apart from the Quatermass Experiment, Mummy, Dracula, and Frankenstein, all were also Universal Studios horror films
Okay,
in the 1930s, the
in the
silent era.
1930s, yeah.
That's the silent era of horror films. The much dreaded, which I will again, silent to sound cinema period, is when
Hmm.
some of these started to filter in, and you got like horror icons like
Yeah,
Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff.
yeah.
Those are the two big ones
Okay,
from that era. So Hammer
yeah.
horror was essentially taking that
From
and from
and
there,
taking
but
it
then
20 years later. Yeah,
yeah, but not officially taking it, right? In the case
yeah.
of
No, so
yeah,
but they also did like standalone features,
yeah,
which also stemmed from existing intellectual property,
sure.
usually well-known literary work. So
Hmm.
they're known for an adaptation of The Hound of the Baskervilles, which is a
Hmm.
novel by Arthur Conan Doyle.
Hmm.
A film called The Two Faces of Dr. Jekyll, based on Robert Louis Stevenson's work,
Hmm.
and an adaptation of The Phantom of the Opera as well. So
Which Heyman told us
lots of
was great, apparently, on
okay,
WhatsApp.
but
Yeah,
we
yeah.
know not to get buoyed by Hemant's uh,
Why?
response
What?
to movies.
Where has that bitten you?
I don't know, but it's just that he gets excited by some random cinema sometimes, and then you watch it and you're like, okay, maybe
Okay.
I shouldn't listen to the guy.
Have
But
I ever listened? Anyway, I was thinking, have
as
I
of
ever
have
listened to
you ever
him?
listened to him?
Hemant, yeah.
As of
Anyways, yeah.
2023, Hammer has produced 175 films.
Wow.
Their last feature starred Eddie Izzard, I think, and was
Mm.
also some sort of retread of Robert Louis Stevenson's novel. Uh,
They
but
restarted, right?
sorry,
The production house restarted now, right?
yeah,
Like the
restarted a
production.
while ago, I think in
Okay.
2007 or something like that. But
Okay.
they've
Okay.
been
Okay.
very scant in their output.
Sure. Sure.
Maybe they should hire Edgar Wright.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Nice. Yeah. Last Night in Soho fits right in there. It's
I
not
don't
that
think it's
scary. It's very
it's
stylish.
it's very stylish, but it's also too well made. The
Sure.
Hammer horror kind of falls between Ramsay Brothers and Last Night in Soho in terms of production quality.
Yeah. Absolutely. Which again is a virtue and a pitfall, I feel, in
Yeah,
both ways. So, but yeah, I've seen Woman in Black, and I have
yeah,
seen I don't remember anything about Let Me In. That's a Thomas Alfredson film, right? Uh,
Okay.
the vampire
Let the
film.
right one in.
Is that, oh, so they made the remake then? Never
Okay.
mind.
Yeah,
Whatever.
he
Like
made the
it's
Swedish original.
okay, okay. So the Swedish one is called Let the Right One In. Then the English remake is, I think, Let Me In, or whatever it is, something
Okay.
like that. Um,
What an American simplification of a title.
yeah, we just talked about the horror movie Catch Up, and we were talking about how Speak No Evil also
Yeah.
got totally Americanized from
Hmm.
their Danish thing. So it's Americans,
Okay.
blame them for everything.
Yeah, it's
But
always convenient.
yeah. No, but I've seen Woman in Black. That
Hmm.
again, whatever, spooky, again, very
Yeah,
Halloween sort of movie,
interesting-ish.
and
I
very
mean,
very dour subject matter. Like it's not
yeah.
very, actually the
Dan
ones.
Radcliffe went and jumped off a cliff after Harry Potter. It was that kind of, and this was the starting point for him.
Yeah, and
That
then
I
he
need to do
started.
extremely different stuff,
Yeah, and then
and
he
it
did
was
that
what's very different.
did that farting movie.
Parting Cops,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
what?
Swiss
Swiss
Army
Dead
Man.
Swiss Army Man.
Yeah.
I thought Swiss Dead Man or Dead Swiss
No,
Man or something.
that movie is so annoying. Anyways, so
And he also did that movie in which he has pistols embedded into his hands. It was one of the few movies I've actually just switched off and been like, this is not worth it.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. But
Anyways,
let's arrive at the most significant Hammer production of
mhm,
all time, probably.
hmm.
Dracula 19, or The Horror of Dracula as it was released in America.
How do you destroy a fiend who has so far proven himself indestructible? Those who come to end his reign of terror stay to become his victims. Dracula, the bedeviled master of all that is evil.
Dracula is, of course, as I've already said multiple times, the character created by Bram Stoker in
Hmm.
his 1897 novel Dracula.
Yeah,
Dracula was first officially played on screen by Bela Lugosi in the Universal Pictures film Dracula by Todd Browning
which I
in
have seen, and
1951.
it's piss
Dhruv
boring.
has watched.
Uh,
Fantastic.
yeah,
Tell us more.
I think it's like 70 minutes long, and it felt about 170. So like, I was
Wow.
just, because I had to write a paper on Frankenstein by James Whale, the 19th, which
Okay.
is which has its limitations a lot because of, this silent to sound thing, but is very memorable in some sequences. It has, and Boris Karloff is amazing in
Yeah.
it. And there's one sequence in Quatermass Experiment that directly recalls Frankenstein also, which is very
Okay.
interesting.
That's quite cool.
But yeah, Frankenstein has a lot of things going for it. Like it doesn't feel, it's again a 70-80 minute movie, but it feels whatever its length. It doesn't feel like,
Hmm.
it's so. That I just honestly I don't remember much about that Dracula. I just remember
Okay.
sleeping very quickly. But Bela Lugosi is good. Like it's just
Okay.
the
Yeah.
whole thing surrounding him is
Yeah.
not.
Him and Christopher Lee are the two actors who probably come to embody
Yeah,
Dracula more than anyone else.
yeah.
The silent film Nosferatu by
Why
F.
not Gary Oldman?
Not him so much. No, I don't
Okay,
think so.
okay.
So, as I was saying, the
Hmm.
silent film Nosferatu from 1922, directed by F.W. Murnau,
Yeah.
is actually an unofficial adaptation of Bram Stoker's book.
Mhm.
I failed to recollect the name of the actor playing Dracula in that,
I don't
but
remember.
well,
Anyways, I've seen
there is
Nosferatu though.
somebody
It's
who plays
really,
him,
really
obviously.
good. Yeah.
There are multiple other actors over the years who've donned the cloak of the Count
Yes.
as he is rather. Nicholas
Hmm.
Cage, most recently, I think, in
Or
Renfield.
Renfield, yeah.
Luke Evans, Klaus Kinski, Thomas Kretschmann, who's quite a good actor, but I
Hmm.
don't know whether the film was any good. It
Yeah.
was, I think, directed by Dario Argento, the
Oh,
Italian
wow. Really?
uh,
Okay. It's like a
director.
Giallo thingy. Okay.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Frank Langella has played Dracula as well.
Hmm.
And of course, to our generation, probably the single best known Dracula is Gary Oldman in
Okay.
Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula,
Yeah.
which also starred Keanu Reeves
And Winona Ryder, both. Yeah.
and Anthony Hopkins
Oh,
and
is he
Monica
also in it?
Bellucci.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, and we are getting another like
Yes,
Nosferatu,
we are.
right?
Film in Robert Eggers' is retread of Nosferatu.
I don't know who he's borrowing from. Is he borrowing
Bill
from silent
Skarsgård.
cinema or Werner Herzog? I don't know, but
Okay,
either
that'll be
or.
interesting.
I would assume whatever style I've seen him practice, he would probably hinge more towards early silent cinema.
Okay.
That's my
But
inclination.
to find
Anyways,
out which side Eggers prefers, check into your local cinema on Christmas Day to see Bill Skarsgård play Dracula.
sound like a publicist of that. Okay.
Of
Anyways.
course, we are hoping that Robert Eggers will give us money. Anybody can give us money. We're very open to donations at this point.
That's why we are doing the Hammer horror production. ना आप लंदन में बैठे हो तो आप actively जाके
Yeah,
स्टूडियो
yeah,
पे
yeah.
हाँ.
I can just go and ask the street criminals, hey, you want to give some money for this? Because street crime is rampant out here. I might as well start getting money out of it.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyways, Dracula 1958 or Horrors of
Yeah.
Dracula. Yeah, 1958. It's
Directed by
directed.
Terence Fischer,
Yeah.
written by Jimmy Sangster. It stars Christopher Lee as Dracula and Peter Cushing as Dr. Van Helsing.
Yes.
Also, for Amartya and other assorted superhero fans, Michael Gough is in the film. Michael Gough played Alfred Pennyworth in multiple Batman movies from the 80s to the 90s. I know
Okay.
him from an obscure British television show in which he was in one episode in the 70s. It's called
Interesting. I
Colditz.
don't know him, so
Okay.
I just got to know him from after watching this.
He's Homewood.
Yes, he's Arthur Homewood,
Arthur
right?
Homewood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Uh,
the film is a major simplification, of course, of Dracula. It merges, it brings characters together who don't
Yeah.
know one another in the novel and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting. Dhruv, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, so I mean the film itself is a lot. So I have written the IMDb plot because I'm over prepared, which
course.
says when Jonathan Harker, I don't know the actor who plays him, I didn't write his name,
His
but
name
when
is slightly confusing anyway.
okay, when Jonathan Harker rouses the ire of Count Dracula for accepting a job at the vampire's castle under false pretenses, his friend Dr. Van Helsing pursues the predatory villain, which is quite succinct in what it's saying, and
Predatory is in particular very
very and
it's a
that
very good choice of word.
underlined and whatever starred or whatever that predatory
Highlighted.
highlighted everything in technicolor.
Dhruv has boxed it in glitter pen.
No, I have not done anything. But anyways, I did. So yeah, I watched Quatermass Experiment before this, right? And I was like, let me just bring down all my expectations for Hammer horror to absolute nil, because I was like, I think I understand what they're going for, but I think
Yeah.
it might be the type of horror film that just doesn't click with me. But I watched Dracula and I was firstly consistently engaged and thoroughly entertained. The one I don't particularly get scared by these films, and by that I mean I have fun watching them as opposed to I'm terrified by them. There are
Right.
moments, individual moments, which are very striking, which doesn't mean that they are outright horrifying and scary. There are other films during this era that have come that are more haunting to me, and that don't, because these are so decorated, it's a little hard for me to sort of connect with them on an emotional level. But I was surprised by the restraint of this film regardless. Like, just there is of course the artificiality to it of the Hammer horror production is known for gothic mise-en-scène, known for theatricality a little bit, known for artificiality in many ways. Like, it's basically, if you're going for a Dracula movie, you're not going to get a subversion of Dracula in a Hammer horror film. You're going to get your money's worth,
You're
which
going to get what you expected, basically.
Yes.
It's playing on that.
yeah,
largely.
but of course for audiences now it might not work because what they expect is also tampered and kind of can't be shown as much because
And they need to be left with a fucking post-credit scene.
Oh no, that I'm not referring to. I was just referring to the
Today a Dracula film would have to end with the earth on his grave moving again.
oh,
in the
like
middle of
just
the
for
credits. Like
okay.
just to set up that he's coming back.
Anyway, well, apart from that, no, but what you go for a lot in horror films, like if you want to compare these these are of course more polished in how they're made, but like if you want to
Yeah.
compare them to something like Friday the 13th films, or like
Hmm.
the later Halloween films, not the first one.
Yeah.
There's the sort of, why do you go there? Do you go there to enjoy seeing people get hacked to death in a cinema screen? That's the whole idea, right? Like it's inside a screen, it's not happening in reality, sort of
Yeah,
like
it's like
that.
your base desires are somehow
Yeah, like
infected.
there's an idea. Wes Craven, who's the director of A Nightmare on Elm Street and
Hmm.
all the Scream franchise, also apparently he had the whole idea that horror films satiate the desire for violence essentially on screen, so that, I mean, that's his thingy. Whatever you can, like, because there's always the argument, right, that you watch the
Yeah.
horror on screen and you learn. His thing was you watch it so that your desires are met, sort of like that.
But that's sort of with anything that is designed to evoke a particular emotion.
No, I do.
Comedy,
Yeah.
it's a desire to laugh.
Hmm.
Porn, it's a desire to be aroused. So
Yes,
it's sort of the idea of genre is to appeal to an
absolutely.
instant desire that can be
Yeah.
fulfilled in
But
that
I
way.
think I think he was rallying more against this whole idea that genre cinema is evil. Like I think it's that, because
Hmm.
that's the whole, because Hammer films will also not be taken seriously at the
Yeah.
time of their release that much, right? It's like they became popular, but people
Yeah.
didn't really.
No, a great example of this is where I am right now. The British Film Institute is curating an action film festival this month,
Hmm.
soon after the London Film Festival gets over.
Hmm.
So obviously they've got your big stuff. They've got Mission Impossible. They've got an all-nighter planned. They've got
Hmm.
uh, a screening, multiple screenings of Seven Samurai planned. 20 years ago, when it came out, you wouldn't have thought Mehuna would play as part of an
Yeah.
international action film festival
Yeah.
bouquet, but it is there.
Hmm.
And that sort of speaks also of the longevity of a genre film
Yeah.
as opposed to a lot of other stuff which maybe
Also just how they change like Mehuna gains a different
yeah
sort of significance now than it did
now
before, right?
yeah
Because now political times have changed, so there's a
yeah
lot of stuff
at that
in
time it
it.
was coming on the back of like a peace process that was just starting out.
Yeah.
You were hopeful. Today you're
Yeah.
like, it's again the weaves are a paradox
Yeah,
again.
absolutely. Like it's the same thing. It's
But
whatever.
yeah,
But
I
yeah.
think what genre does is basically, and it's it's got a staying power
Hmm.
that classical drama can have, but also
Yes.
sometimes does not.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think the whole timeless argument sort of comes into play, right? Like, of
Yeah,
course, stories can be timeless, but the treatment sort of course, fixes them to a particular place and time.
place and time. Yeah,
But once it fixes it to that place and time, it now depends how that plays today. So I
yeah,
was expecting this Dracula or Horrors of Dracula to play much more campy than it did to me.
yeah.
Uh,
It's actually very subdued
I
in
was very surprised. So I
places.
expected it to be like, full of the sort of unnatural overacting. Let's just say that. Like, because overacting by itself is there in this to to very minuscule extent, I think.
Yeah.
But once you see something like the 1930s films now,
Hmm.
that's when you get the unnatural overacting, because that time they were also transitioning from
Yeah.
silent cinema to sound cinema. So you get, people speaking in that film but also expressing as loudly with their hands and face as
Hands
they are
and faces.
speaking. So
Yeah.
you get a very disconcerting, I always get taken out by that.
Hmm.
But in this film, I feel all the actors are somewhat underplaying compared to the
Yeah.
mise en scène around them. It's like, it's like that the mise en scène will do its own work, and then they are sort of trapped within it, but like they are
Yeah.
like blending in with it, let's just say, like that, rather
Yeah.
than.
They're adding to
Yes.
the physical space that they occupy. I
Yeah.
The restraint actually that stood out to me was how it manages to sort of talk about sexual desire
Hmm.
without going into Coppolaverse territory.
Coppola, I've heard, is like full bombast, like,
Yeah, it's
blasted into the
nude
stratosphere.
women. Naturally,
Ah, okay, okay.
his instinct was probably that if I'm going to cast Monica Bellucci in a particular role,
Yeah.
which requires a certain sort of presentation, why
Yeah.
will I not deploy her in very
I
explicit
don't know
ways?
if you, I don't
I
know if
don't
you
know if
can,
that's how it should
I
work.
don't know about I'm just saying, I don't know if you can give this credit to Hammer horror films or Terence Fisher. I think you would probably, that credit might belong to the censors. Because I think
Yeah,
if,
but they were not. They were not sort of tied down by something like the Hays Code, because the Hays
Hmm.
Code only applied in America.
Hmm.
The British censors had their own code and they had their
Hmm.
own level of
This is
acceptability.
pushing at it
Yeah,
fair
it is
bits. Yeah.
definitely like
Yeah.
look at how the actresses are photographed when they set
Getting.
eyes on Christopher Lee.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, just that there's a mixture of anger
Yeah.
and very barefaced desire.
Yes. Yes. I
Right,
think
and
that's especially the case with the wife of Arthur, like Mina. Mina is
yeah,
her name.
Mina Homewood, yeah.
Yeah, that scene was the one where I was like, oh, okay, this sort of eroticism sort of comes
Yeah,
into play a lot. Because apparently
and
that's what's written most about Dracula, like this version of
but yeah,
Dracula, right?
that
Yeah.
he's the kind of the presentation idea of Dracula was supposed to be he has to be played and directed in such a way that women would want him to bite their necks.
Sure. And you also get women who seem like they're sexually repressed in the film
Yeah.
because there's no desire from other men around them
Yeah,
to
they are almost,
engage.
yeah, the men are almost in some sort of constricted constricted by their own sort of very very clear mortality and by being
Yeah, I so
basic
wrote down
human
only
beings.
that this is sort of the version, like, again, for me, a lot of it goes back to like the curiosity of man in many senses brings upon the horror also to the woman, right? Which
Yeah,
happens in this case with, like, the film begins with Jonathan Harker going
yeah.
to the Count's. What's it called? They don't give it a name, the castle
I think
or
Castle
whatever.
Dracula, right?
That's it. What's the
I think so.
Transylvania connection then?
He is supposed to be a Transylvanian king.
Ah, okay. But this is set in whatever
It's
they
set in
don't.
Central Europe. They don't
Sure. So they
specify
don't
where.
specify. It's
I
like a
think that's
fairy
what it
tale
does.
thing
It
also. No,
it
it's like the
cuts
book.
down. It cuts down. So in the book, I think there's a voyage,
Okay.
which is how Dracula gets to England. Over
There's
here,
a
England is
backstory
completely
almost.
removed. Yeah.
Hmm.
No, so the voyage is replaced by the hearse.
Okay.
So you cut down,
Ah,
say,
okay.
a
Hmm.
200, 300 mile journey by sea to a 20, 30 mile journey by carriage,
Sure. Hmm.
which is very effective adaptation because you don't have the money to go
Yeah.
down to a pier and put a boat on the water and, take
Absolutely.
shots.
Like limited settings you have, you
Yeah.
make use of them, right? So you sort of. But yeah, look, I was saying that Jonathan Harker goes essentially because he wants to put an end to the Count Dracula thing,
Yeah.
but he is the one who
Male savior
ends up.
complex.
Yeah, sort of like that. Like it's because of him then that he essentially kills his muse or whatever, his
Yeah.
servant. That's the
Yeah.
Renfield thing, right? I guess what happened, like
Yeah.
it's the Dracula and the
Hmm.
person who serves him essentially. And in this, he kills the girl, so he has to search for another person essentially
Yeah.
to serve as his second, and so he targets his fiance.
Fiance. Yeah.
And then the fiance, I was surprised. I thought the fiance was going to be the. We are talking spoilers, right?
Yeah.
The
Obviously.
fiance was supposed to be the main emotional center in many ways, like the
Yeah.
person who'll
She
sort of
dies
stick
pretty
around,
quickly.
and she dies very quickly. And I was like, oh, you are increasing. Like again, it's the
Yeah.
it's stakes
Upping the
increase.
stakes.
Yeah.
It's like, Jonathan Harker's actions reminded me of a dialogue from a film I think you also like, Detective Byomkesh Bakshi.
Hmm.
When Swastika Mukherjee turns to Sushant Singh Rajput and says, "Tum nahi hote to ye kuch nahi hota,"
Yeah.
which is this whole kand is just happening because of you.
Exactly. Yeah,
Stay
because you
where you
were
belong.
curious. Yeah, but that's the whole
You were not
Frankenstein idea.
curious. You were like, I will do it.
Acha, okay,
You
fair
have
enough.
that. You have those fantasies when you're a kid. That I'll save my schoolmates in a fire, or in a terror attack, I'll be the hero, or whatever.
Yeah,
Which you come up
yeah,
with. It's that, but in grown-up form. That
yeah,
nobody has told me to take action, but let me go and sort this mad
yeah,
400-year-old vampire out.
yeah. And that's the sort of what you would say in like a slasher film or whatever. That's your
Yeah,
first introductory, big scene, and it takes place in the castle, so you get that setting.
yeah,
You get the advantage of using that gothic setting, and you've got high, like the mansion is high ceilings, and you've got like
everything. Yeah,
everything,
and
candlelights.
Christopher Lee is tall as hell.
He's
So,
super tall, yeah, absolutely. And
and the
I
sets
really
actually then accentuate how
yeah,
he
and
looks,
he
right?
there's this like swirling sort of serpentine pillars, like which
Okay.
I was like, that's the production design element that I was like, oh, that's so like fitting in this environment, was
Hmm.
one of the things that sort of came to my mind. But otherwise, yeah, like it's not, again, the production design isn't like so flamboyant that it's not like an
It's
SLB
very
thing.
lush, but
Like,
it's not.
hmm,
It's lush in terms of how it's using color and it's
yeah,
trying to,
the
it's
staircase
evoking
is
a
there,
certain
right?
richness. Yeah.
Like, you were the first time you get introduced to Dracula, he's at the
Yeah.
top of the staircase, and we have like our hero looking like it's
Up
all
at him.
low angle. I think like
Yeah.
Count Dracula shot a lot in that format just to make.
Mm.
So yeah, like I so one of the things which, because we will after this talk about a film which we both don't like,
Yeah.
I think the one of the things I think also worth addressing is both the director and
Yeah.
DOP, I suppose, in this sense, because DOP is
Terence
Jack
Fisher is, of
Asher,
course,
right?
the director, and yeah, Jack
Uh,
Asher in Technicolor shooting this film, which is
yeah.
unusual for the time for a
Hmm.
film of
And
its
I'm very
modesty.
grateful for Varun for sharing the restored print,
BFI print, yeah.
whatever he gave. I was like, this looks gorgeous.
Yeah,
Like, in the
because if you
sense,
look at the IMDb trailer, which is, I
hmm,
think, either an intra negative or it's a
hmm,
dupe, it looks terrible. Like the
yeah.
color is completely distorted,
There's
and
one shot in that seduction scene with Mina, which
hmm,
uses a sort of negative
yeah,
almost, but even that looks amazing. Like, it's the, so whatever, whoever's done the BFI did the
restoration,
restoration, right? So it was
yeah,
amazing. So because you get the, and that's what I was saying. Like, one of the big notes for me was, man, does Technicolor and Gothic mise-en-scène make a big difference to this
yeah,
genre? Like, because I saw Quatermass before this, and I was like, why are you not shooting this more dynamically? Like, for me, I was like,
right,
where is the style to the horror? I thought the whole
exactly,
idea
right.
was style,
Because
right? Mm.
as a genre, the one thing horror really needs is it needs to be visually very interesting. It does not
Yeah.
need to be visually attractive conventionally.
Yes.
It just needs to, like, if you think about it, The Shining's biggest strength is its camera, in not in terms of what it captures, because it's
Hmm.
all very much like a regular hotel, aside
Yeah.
from that whole helicopter
The first
camera set
sequence
piece in
where
the beginning,
the
which
where
is
it's
very,
going everywhere.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
very out of place in a film like The Shining, though it
Huh.
does the spookiness quite well.
Yeah.
And this is a person who doesn't like the film.
Yeah.
I think what the camera does is it suggests a lot more of the horror. So
Yeah.
how you shoot it, it's like comedy. If you can't write it well, there's no point to it.
Yeah.
It's like action. If you can't blow up a car properly, Rohit Shetty, I am speaking to you. There's no point to it, right? So the very fundamental is that you need to be able to. How are you going to fear something if you can't like see what is the impact it is having, if
Yeah. Yeah.
not the thing
And this
itself?
film actually more than anything, what it does is like it captures the genuine terror of Dracula. Like, a lot
Yeah.
of the time, like, of course, I didn't feel scared, as as we had
Hmm.
discussed, but this whole thing was. But the whole thing is that our heroes and whoever's trapped in this world is always behind or beneath him. Like,
Yeah.
till the end moment, it doesn't, like, I was like, 10 minutes were remaining when I was like,
Yeah.
does this have some sick sadistic ending which I'm gonna love?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I expected it to not have that. So, I was like, but where is the whole, where will the happy ending come from, was my
Yeah.
thought, because we are so behind in the sense of, um he's just everywhere, like
Yeah.
in a sort of atmospheric sense. Like, even the house that Arthur and Mina live in has a slightly more decorated Gothic look to it.
Yeah.
It's not that accentuated, and I think I was, and again, like, there's a good
It is very
variation.
cluttered though. I don't know if you notice
Hmm.
that. It's like Dracula's house has lots of space,
Yeah.
and it's almost like nobody lives here. That's why there's an almost luxuriant sense of how
Hmm, hmm,
it's,
hmm.
put
Empty here,
together.
right? Yeah,
Whereas
pura. So yeah. Hmm.
the home is more cluttered. It's more overstuffed because these people are
Yeah.
living their lives on a day-to-day
Yeah.
basis and presumably
Yeah.
buying stuff and whatnot.
Yeah. No, and I think the film does a. I was I was worried that once the introductory scene ends, and it's a great,
Hmm.
like, it ends on a great sort of. I don't like the voiceover narration, but whatever. I
Hmm.
understand that's the,
That's your issue with
that's
the
your.
format of
No, no,
voiceover.
no, not always. No, I was just like, you've already done it. Like, you've done, you have a good visual correlation for it. So I was
Yeah.
like, you just move past it, sort of like that.
Yeah.
But I was clocking these things in because I was interested in how the film was moving. So about 23 minutes in, I think, you get the
Okay.
introductory setup done.
Right.
Like that's the first scene with
Hmm.
Jonathan Harker. He kills his whatever second or muse or whoever,
Yeah.
and then he gets killed by Dracula.
By
That they
Dracula.
don't show. They sort of there's lots of fades to
Yeah.
black in this. Just I suppose because they can't show a lot of the gore also. Um,
Yeah.
but they do at times really show someone putting a keel to
Yeah.
essentially. So I was like surprised why they didn't do it the other times. Anyways, this first scene happens, right? And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, great scene, great introduction.
Hmm.
Where I was like, middle section, this film is gonna be turgid. Like that was
Yeah.
my thought. I was like, the
That's
more it
usually the concept
yeah,
of horror
the
movies.
more it veers away from Dracula, the more it'll be but again, that's when the film sort of shows that it's fairly mean consistently. Like you get a
Yeah.
lot of people. So
Dying.
again, it's the first the what's her name? The uh
The fiance.
fiance, whatever the fiance is, like
Yeah.
she
She is the fiance. I mean, there's no other
okay,
function to
it's
her.
revealed that she's already bitten by
Yeah.
Dracula when
Dracula.
we see her, and I was like, oh, okay, so they will protect her.
Yeah.
Fade to black after like another scene, and she's dead, and
Yeah.
I was like, okay, interesting, and like so again, it's filled with incidents in which Dracula's presence keeps on reoccurring
Yeah.
in some sense, which I think is necessary for that middle section to really work. And Peter Cushing, I think, does a great job
Great job
of
of lifting that because he comes in also like one third of the way in almost, right?
yeah,
It's
and
an 80-minute film.
yeah, and again, and again, all the performances, the sort of subdued nature of the performances in this
Hmm.
half, or
Even
this middle
Dracula is
section.
subdued. Like
Yes,
you're
you
like
get
the dude who goes around biting people's necks is subdued. What the hell? But
you
okay.
get I've written this that this is classy horror, and like
Okay.
this sort of Dracula remind me of what classy horror is.
Yeah.
And there's virtues to it, of course, as whatever
Yeah.
we are saying are virtues in many ways. Like it's this whole thing that because the acting is subdued in this middle section, all of it just feels slightly more tangible and
Yeah.
relatable. And you get even like all the performances from your Michael Goh and all these people,
Yeah.
Guff or whatever his name
Yeah.
is great. You get all these the smattering of these performances.
Hmm.
My issue, and I guess it remains with this type of film, is
Yeah.
that lack of visceral horror is
Hmm.
missing. Because and I think that's intentional in some ways also, because the camera work is much more restrained in a film like this than even The Shining. Like as you said, The
Yeah.
Shining has the camera flowing somewhere, and then
Yeah.
the thing going everywhere, but
But The
the
Shining had one very important tool which Asher and
steady.
Fisher don't, steady cam.
Yes,
Plus, in the
absolutely.
20 years that elapsed, I suppose cameras did become more dynamic,
Yes. No,
lighter.
no, absolutely. No, but I'm sure there's other horror films in the 50s which are more use handheld much more. This doesn't use handheld
I
as much
mean,
at all.
cheaper, even cheaper. This is if you call this B movie type, then there will
Yes.
be a C movie type which does 16 millimeter handheld horror. But I don't think
Yes.
you'll see it in commercial mainstream or even in slightly
You got it
alternate
in like
kind of.
I think you got it in wars B noirs and all also. Anyways, my
Yeah.
my thing is that there are 2 3 moments where this happens, where you get that jolt or
Hmm.
like shock at least, or whatever visceral thing. Where one of them I had written down was you get a low angle extreme close up shot of Christopher Lee's face with like
Yeah.
with like his devilish teeth and whatever.
Yeah. His
Uh,
fangs.
yeah, I think that's the first time when you see
Him as
the
Dracula.
yeah. So that was a very striking image. Then there's the
Also, the
Mina.
way he's lit in that sequence, right? Like
Yes.
that cold light on his
Blue, I
face.
think, right? I think
Yeah.
very light blue, dark blue
Yeah.
probably. But the other one, which I did chuckle at as soon as it happened, because I was like, oh, you went that stylish in this. Like I didn't expect the film to go there, where there's the hard cut from Lee biting into Mina, and
Yeah.
that cutting to an owl making a
Okay.
screeching sound. So I
Oh
was like,
wow.
oh, that I thought was
Yeah.
wonderful. I was like, that's the sort of
Inventiveness that you can
style
have
I
in
guess I was
suspense film.
expecting
Hmm.
more from this film. I
Oh, if you
actually
like that kind of cutting, you should definitely watch a movie called Carl.
I don't know if that applies there.
There's a
But
lot of owl in that movie.
no, but it's here. It's because you can't show it also, right? Like it's
Yeah.
the suggestion, the power of suggestion, and it's
I
a
mean, over
cheeky
there also
edit.
you didn't show the tiger killing too many people.
They show head getting cut off.
That's not the tiger's doing. That's a
They
jeep.
can't show that. They can't film it. No, असली में थोड़ी ना किसी का किसी का.
कोई ना कोई होगा, sir. This is
It,
called
it's
filmmaking.
yeah. We should have discussed Carl, right, when we are discussing horror films.
We are talking about
Carl is
dangerous
still one of our.
creatures.
To be very honest, it's still one of the better horror films we have.
It came 4 years after, 2 years after Makdi. It had no business being as bad as it was.
Yeah, but I'm comparing it to Shaitan, no, the other Ajay Devgan film.
Ajay Devgan's pan ads are scarier than the horror movies he does.
विमल बोलो जुबां केसरी.
Anyways, no, but did you? What was that? The other question I was asking was, yeah. So you got the whole sexuality thing in this from like
Yeah.
when since till from what point? Do you have any
I think
idea?
from the very beginning, because he is presented. Also, there's a stereotypical thing of tall dudes and women being attracted to them and stuff like that. And he's dressed in a certain way, and then whenever the film cuts to the house help, and even when she's talking about him with fear, there is some level of desire or lust, whatever you want to call it, mixed in. And then finally when she looks at him,
Yeah.
that's when it kind of establishes itself as that he is somebody they're scared of, but also somebody they want and need.
Yes. Yeah.
Very, very clearly.
Yeah.
And the fact that he is so cool about it, like he's
Until the last, he is pretty much right. Like,
and he's there in the film very little as well. Christopher Lee is probably in like 6 or
which
7
is
scenes.
always a good thing, I think. Like that's a horror thing that I think most films should follow. Like the sparse use of your horror, like seeing your horror sparsely, is always slightly
Anthony Hopkins
preferable.
in
Silence of the Lambs, right? Yeah. So yeah.
Sorry, I shouldn't just say Silence, because otherwise people will be like, wait,
वो
Scorsese
कहाँ था?
didn't make a horror movie.
Yes. I mean, it
This
is
about
sort of
priests getting
it
tortured.
has horror stuff in it, like horrific stuff in it.
I don't know. They
What
deserved
people? Okay. Okay, sure.
You weren't expecting that, were you?
Yeah, that's the sort of thing I am supposed to say. Anyways.
So, but what I liked was that the music really complemented the fact that the actors were underplaying to music. The
Yes.
composer, which is James Bernard,
Yes.
he's on his own trip. He's like, dude, this music is going to be so good. You're going to put it in your movie from first frame to last. And
No,
it
but
is
I think there's this
there are
section in the
parts of
middle,
it
which I think
with-
makes it
where they use-
effective.
where they use sound as well.
Yes.
Production sound. The fact is that the music is really carrying a lot of it purely in terms of atmosphere.
Yes.
Because how much of production sound is going to make the inside of a house scary? Dracula doesn't
Yes.
come in making a racket. He comes in quietly, he does his job, he goes away.
Yeah.
Rather, he doesn't go away, which is kind of the problem.
Yes. Yeah.
But the music is so evocative of and it's almost always building up to something.
Yeah, it's
So,
always crescendoing in some
yeah,
ways.
like what's called the shepherd's tone, which is never
Okay.
ending, which is what Nolan and Zimmer used in Dunkirk.
Okay.
I think the track is called Supermarine on
Okay.
the soundtrack.
Hmm.
If you listen to it, it just doesn't end, not as the ticking clock sound, ticking watch sound. So the music is almost like that. It's even if there's nothing happening on screen, you're constantly engaged with the idea that something will happen, and you're waiting for that something to happen. And that part of the film is very interesting. I also think it, like you said, underplaying it also makes the horror these people are up against slightly more palpable.
Yeah.
The campiness of the other film kind of proves to be its undoing almost.
Yes.
Sometimes camp can be great.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely. I mean, I expected
we
this
are
to
both
be
great
camp.
fans of Om Shanti Om, which is an extremely campy movie.
Yeah.
But the fact is that it uses camp properly. Like,
Yeah,
Kiran Kher is like She, also in a great horror sequence, builds up to a
Yes,
horror
absolutely.
sequence.
That's a hammer. Also, almost like a hammer horror thing only. To
Yeah,
be.
like
Yeah.
when she turns around and her hair is just, it's fantastic. It's probably one of the best sequences
Yeah.
Farah Khan has directed.
Yeah.
I wish she would make more movies and her brother would just go away. But neither seems to be happening. He's almost had a resurgence.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's all
I
over
didn't know
Instagram.
this. Okay.
So, but I think that's what's interesting is that the film is constantly suggesting something more,
Yeah.
and there is, to its own credit, there is a lot happening, right?
Yeah.
If you think about it, that body count is pretty high for a horror movie.
Yeah. For this type of film, I expected the first death, last me some one more death, sort of
Yeah,
like that. But
but like
here I
consistently
almost
there's
felt,
some activity.
and I felt because again I didn't know the formula essentially of
Hmm.
the Hammer horror film, and if they end on sickening notes, like a lot of horror films later on do end on fairly, horrifying
Are you
slash
thinking
sickening
Fede
notes.
Alvarez's Don't Breathe?
Not that sickening in terms of, because that movie basically becomes an exploitation film
Yeah.
at the end, but no, I'm thinking more in the sense of, again, I'm thinking more slashers, so
Okay.
ones with monster figures essentially, so
Okay.
because they have to do their sequel thing, so it's like,
Hmm.
we've defeated the monster, but the monster, like in
I
this,
mean, Lee played Dracula multiple times. I don't think the films ever tried to
I know,
were ever joined in a
yeah,
narrative together.
yeah,
It just so happened you accepted that he's playing Dracula again. It's
yeah.
kind of like the James Bond thing where you were expected to accept the fact that Maud Adams has played one Bond girl in The Man with the Golden Gun, and she's playing Octopussy in Octopussy, and there is no correlation
Yeah, yeah,
between
the
them.
law. No, I don't mean it in that sense, but we
Yeah,
have
there's no,
franchises now
yeah,
where it's like it's like the ending happens and it's like, oh no, wait,
yeah,
but
but
but someone else is
the
there.
earth
So
moving, the
yeah, but
grave,
in this I
son of
genuinely,
Dracula. There is a son of Dracula
yeah.
movie though.
But no, in this I was genuinely like, does this just end really horribly? Because I was like,
Yeah,
again, the 10 minutes were remaining and something really horrible is happening. Like these guys have no clue
you
where
should
Dracula is.
you should when you said that bit about will this end like terribly, you should just put in one bit of Sonu Sood saying, Sonu Nigam saying, everyone will be killed from Jani Dushman. Ek anokhi kahani.
That's another camp horror film, I suppose, or a
That's a
horror
great
camp
movie.
film, whatever you want to say.
There is, it has some of the most memorable songs in a Hindi movie ever. They're literally dancing to a song which goes 11 baje ya 12 baje, which what the hell does that mean? 11 bajna matlab kya hota hai?
Oh God, I should have watched that over whatever you made me watch. Not Dracula, but whatever next we're going to talk about that you made
Yeah,
me watch.
let's, but okay, I want to sort of explain my motivation behind selecting the other film.
Yes.
So obviously Dracula and Frankenstein are based upon existing
Yeah, because
IPs.
I tried to sway Varun away from selecting this
Yeah.
one. I was like, Varun, let's try and select a film which is very good, like
I
automatically proven to be very
so
good.
this is not badly rated by most people. It's rated
At
like
the
people are
average,
on the
whatever.
fence, yeah.
Yeah.
So it could have been like really good also, and people
Of
just
course.
get
No,
it.
no, no. I tried to sway you because I was like, I don't know what this, like, again, I'm talking
I,
from because
yeah.
I was like, I don't know how many people are familiar with Hammer horror. Also,
Hmm.
I'm not sure what titles people are familiar with. Dracula, when
Yeah.
someone hears, it's like a big thing in any case because it's like it's the
Hmm.
monster and the source material itself is big. So I'm like, let's choose Frankenstein, let's
I
choose
mean,
something
I,
else.
I was sort of kind of motivated by the fact that people will know of Russia's greatest love machine.
Oh, fair enough.
But
As a
so
horror, so you were curious to see him as a horror icon.
I think, yeah, because first of all, the guy was horrific,
Yes.
right? In whatever shit he got up to.
Yeah.
Secondly, you are talking about a real person, which is not very often in, like, unless you subscribe to the bullshit of Ed and what's her name? Ed and Lorraine Warren.
What, the conjuring people?
Yeah. There's no such thing as demonologist. Look at this biologist, this criminologist. There's no
No,
demonologist.
but
Let's be
you
very
could,
clear about these
but
things.
I'm sure there's a lot of exploitation films which use real life people and then like
Probably.
exploit it,
I mean,
right?
the Amityville haunting has been sort of turned into
No,
that.
no, I mean it in the sense that they choose a real life personality and then cast him as like a super villain or a superhero or whatever.
Abraham Lincoln Vampire
Ah,
Hunter.
Vampire Hunter, something like that. I mean
Yeah.
it in that way only.
Yeah.
Which this film needed to be that. Like,
Initially I did wonder whether it was about. There's a theory that Rasputin was a vampire.
oh,
Yeah, like people have
there are,
written whole novels about it.
if you want to draw a parallel, there are enough parallels between Dracula and Rasputin, because structuring and how narrative structuring and how he is essentially a monster who sort of, preys on women.
My basic this thing was, yeah, I have made a point of that. My basic this thing was, how do you explore a real life in the genre space while being very clear about it's not trying to position itself as an action movie. You're not trying to, it's not a biopic.
I checked the
It's
genre.
really not.
I checked the genre on Letterboxd. It was horror.
It is marked as a horror movie.
Yes.
So let's just introduce it, of course. Directed by Don Sharp, who also directed the TV show called Avengers, which starred, among other people, Honor Blackman and Diana Rigg.
This is like another language to me, but yes.
Actresses both Bond girls as well. Yeah, Amartya would have geeked out just about the fact that Don Sharp exists.
I feel he is the one who might have actually come out more positive on this movie than both of us.
So the film we are talking about is called Rasputin the Mad Monk.
You will apologize for laughing at me.
Rasputin, man of violence, turning men into murderers and women into animals.
You will go away and destroy yourself.
Mad. Your only hope is to get your free Rasputin beard as you enter the theater to see Rasputin, the Mad Monk.
Also starring Christopher Lee as Grigory Rasputin. For those of you unaware, as you can well be, because Rasputin is not talked about as much as he should be. You should know about a guy who was well famous for just his schlong and nothing else. That was his secret weapon. Not so secret.
All these things, the facts are so interesting that the movie is whatever. Say, what are you saying?
So Grigory Rasputin was a mystic in the early 20th century who became prominent as a result of his association with Tsar Nicholas II and Tsaritsa Alexandria. He spent close to a decade in St. Petersburg's high society and served as a healer and spiritual guide to the imperial family in Russia. And special attention most of his attention was really dedicated to the Tsaritsa and to Prince Alexei, the sick heir to the Tsardom. He was assassinated by Russian nobility in 1916, 1 year after Tsar Nicholas II had moved closer to the front lines of the Great War. And in that 1 year that had elapsed since the Tsar's move, Rasputin and the Tsaritsa had sort of become extremely, extremely powerful in St. Petersburg, and to the point that their power probably rivaled that of the Tsar. He was not involved in Rasputin's killing. It was a couple of other aristocrats who were not very happy about how much Rasputin was. I don't know. Is it right to say they were not happy with how much sex Rasputin was having, or should we phrase it in some other way? They were probably not happy with the fact that he was sort of sleeping his way to the top in a very unusual format.
Oh, you can say that.
There's a great Boney M song about Rasputin, which actually covers most of the salient points as they were. Rasputin has been played on screen, of course, multiple times. The first film that came out about him probably came out in 1920. I think there were 2 films that year, both of which are probably lost.
Okay.
But the most sort of well-known portrayals of him on screen are by actors like Conrad Veidt, Gert Frober, Tom Baker, Alexei Petrenko, who played him in a biopic directed by L.M. Klimov, Gerard Depardieu, Alan Rickman in a TV movie of the 90s, and most recently Rhys Ifans in The Kingsman by Matthew Vaughn.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting mix of actors who played him. I think Tom Baker is fantastic. That film is crap, Nicholas and Alexandria.
Okay.
Franklin Schaffner directed that right after he had won an Oscar for Patton.
Yeah, but a lot of people do this. They make like the Oscar movie and then they just
They
have
shit over
fun.
their own career.
Yeah, I mean, even people blame the Coens even for this, though they are wrong considering
Sam
Burn
Mendes, post
19. Yeah, but I
1917.
don't like 1917 also, but whatever.
It's a
No, no,
directorial achievement either way.
but they didn't win anything though.
But he won.
He
No,
didn't
he
win.
did. He won something. I think he won
I mean,
screenplay
he
for
didn't
that.
win like like I mean like people
He did win
went
Best Director at BAFTAs, I think.
okay. Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
because he's British. No, I mean that's they do that. Of course they do that. But no, no. I was saying like Coens were also accused of it. No Country Ke Baad they followed up with like Burn After Reading.
Burn After Reading is a damn funny film.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Everyone is wrong that because
Yeah.
Burn After Reading is a great film, in its own right. Of course, it's a
I can never forget John Malkovich. Actually, I can't forget J.K. Simmons in that film. Okay, how fed up he is with all of it. This never happened. Brad
I
Pitt
love that
as the
film.
dumb blonde in the gym.
Brad Pitt is one of the funniest for me. But anyways,
Yeah.
back to less
Back
interesting
to
things.
Rasputin. Yeah,
Yes,
which neither of us like.
Rasputin the Mad Monk is the
Yeah,
title of the
Rasputin, Mad
film. Yeah,
Monk.
yeah.
I really don't know what to make of it
When
from
did
the
you watch
sense of.
it?
I just watched it today, but the thing
Okay.
is that, yeah, because I didn't have classes today. So
Hmm.
I'm like, how do you go so badly wrong with like a ready-made horror movie? Like this guy's lived a life.
Yeah.
He's fucked around and found out.
Hmm.
Quite literally.
Yeah.
It's all there, and then you come up with the most. You know what we were talking about? Some like the production design in Dracula and how it
Hmm.
sort of accentuates Lee and his presence on screen.
Yeah.
This film squanders all of that because they really don't know how to shoot Lee as Rasputin.
Yeah, he is introduced in one of the most banal ways possible. I was like, really? That's your introduction to him? Like the camera looks at him, he comes in from a door, and it's
Yeah,
just like this wide shot of him coming in from the door,
but
and then the
that's
camera,
the entire film, right? Just
yeah, and
masters
then
and
and the
wides.
camera pans left, and then he walks upstairs. I was like, okay, are you going for like, are you sort of trying to undermine him with your thingy? But I was like, but the whole film is shot in wides and medium wides, and I was like, what's the point of having a character? Firstly, again, my thing,
CinemaScope
yeah,
also
CinemaScope. It's shot in CinemaScope. So again,
on sets. This is
on
this
sets,
is
and I think
what
apparently
this is what
borrowed
inspired.
sets.
This is what
Bo-
probably prompted Tarantino to make an ultra wide Panavision film inside a hut.
maybe, maybe. No, but maybe
Sorry, you were
CinemaScope
saying
ka us
borrowed
time
sets. You were saying something.
borrowed sets from one of the other films that was in
I mean,
production at that point in time. No,
that's
but
the
like,
whole function of
but
a
this is
cheap remake.
different, right? Like this is supposed to like seems to have pretensions of being a more
Yeah, yeah,
prestige thing.
of prestigious
Yeah, because
prestige film.
it's
Yeah.
not your horror. Like it again. I'm like I don't know if I have if I can even term this as a horror film.
I'm just bored. Yeah.
Bored is a big thing in this film, 100%. But which I'm like, my main notice, this is an entirely flat film about a man who's a healer and a hevan, essentially. Right. And a
Hmm.
special award is due for Sharp for making it this rudderless. Because it really is. I was just like, how can you this man, okay, you've got your two extremes, right? That's
Hmm.
your intro sort of sets it up. Intro was fine in terms of one sequence sets him up as a miracle healer.
Yeah.
Subsequent scene sets him up as whatever, a womanizer, but who then turns into like a murderer and a rapist in that same scene.
Hmm.
You get those two sharp contrasts. I'm like, at least
Rapist?
he forces himself upon the daughter there.
Which? Oh, yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
well, not a rapist. Okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah, no,
Not the
no, fair
R
enough.
word,
I was like, what? How did I forget it so quickly? But
but
that's the kind of movie.
understandable. But anyways, even like they are two sequences
Yeah.
essentially, isolated sequences. It feels like the filmmaking isn't either playful enough or cheeky enough or whatever to make that connection. It's like sort of
Hmm.
we give you this scene, we give you this scene. See, he's a man of extremes, essentially, right?
Yeah.
He can either be this or that, and then after that, the film just settles into being this, then it becomes something that just almost very literally goes through his rise and fall. Fall,
Yeah.
though I mean, literally does
Literal
fall.
falls
But like,
out
well,
of a
wohi
window.
hai. No, but it's No, but it's very rudimentary in its
Yeah.
treatment, and it's like, as I said, it's the monster ka rise essentially. After the first scene where he heals
Yeah.
someone, he has no morality or whatever, right? He's essentially, and I'm not saying that, but I'm saying anyways, we're not buying this as a biopic, right? It's anyways
Yeah.
fabricated and whatever and whatever.
Yeah.
I'm
Dressed
like,
up like
whatever. If you're
significantly.
gonna make a film about Rasputin, then
Hmm.
make a film which at least leans into his healing, like leans into it in a way where you can feel the magic of his healing. Like
The
make us,
mystical
yeah,
element, at
make
least.
us
Yeah.
feel that, no, rather than shooting that also in the most rudimentary way. I was
Yeah.
like,
He's just holding people's faces
head.
and
I'm like,
curing them.
what? Uh,
He,
I can't
he's
buy
the
that.
weirdest. His hands are basically Jandu Bam.
Yes. And okay, so other part which maybe you can buy more is his lecherousness and whatever. He's a horrible man and
Hmm.
everything. And Christopher Lee is good at playing that, even though I can just not buy this person
Brown
because of
face. I
his
don't know why brown face was a choice.
and the beard and all also.
I mean,
I
without the
understand.
beard, it's not a Rasputin,
No, I know that, but like
right?
it feels comical in the way it's also
Yeah,
like, you can see them as
I just don't
props.
think at that time people went to the effort of either growing a beard
Yeah.
or adding extensions to an existing
Yeah,
beard.
yeah,
They
yeah.
were like,
So
"हाँ,
when I
चिपका
saw
देंगे."
it, I was like, how will I take it seriously? Because
Yeah,
you are making me want to take it seriously. And Christopher Lee's performing it like that.
yeah. He's
He's not,
earnest. He's
he's,
not good,
yeah.
but he's honest. We can give
No,
him
he's
that.
going for कि मुझे well, I'm not saying, but it's like I'm giving my Oscar performance in some ways,
हाँ,
कि ये मेरा show reel essentially है,
yeah,
like for
basically.
playing the monster in whatever way possible. So he's not going to the level of hysteria where I'm just like, oh wow, you're going there with your pitch,
Yeah.
and neither is the camera work. There's two instances when there's something visually interesting happening. One is when he hypnotizes
Hmm.
the Sarp.
Sonia.
No, no, not
No, the
Sonia.
Zaritza. Okay.
The
Uh,
Saritsa. Yeah, yeah. Where
Okay.
he closes her eyes and then the screen fades to black and then there's like this blur on like
Okay.
the top of the screen or the bottom of the screen. And I'm like, oh wow, where
Just
does
look at
this?
my eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, my God, where did the movie get this visual ingenuity all of a sudden? I was like, okay, whatever. One decent scene, and then the other one is when one of the guys goes to attack him in his house, and it's all
Yeah.
short and super dark. You can only
Dark, and you can
see
see
their
the tip of his
faces,
saber and stuff like
yeah,
that.
and
Yeah.
everything. I'm like, oh, interesting. And then
Hmm.
the rest of the film
But
is
not so
again
much.
back to the now normal white shot, white shot, white shot, white shot.
I
I'm like,
mean, to be fair, even that darkness scene is all wide shots. It's just that
yeah,
it's
yeah,
in
but at least it's
darkness.
stylistic, no? Like
Yeah.
it's like kuch to hai, like there's some like
Uh,
material to look into there,
I
or not look in, no, or not look
hmm.
into in many senses. But
I I thought
yeah,
throughout it was just very, very boring. Like
yeah,
at no point was I sure I am a student of history in some sense, so I
hmm,
I know about Rasputin, but
hmm,
I should still be engaged by this character
yeah,
because you're ultimately not making it for researchers in Moscow. You're making it for a general film going audience.
yes,
Why is it so boring? Like just from a scene composition point of view,
yeah.
why does it have to start in that inn? Why can it not start with him being randomly introduced? I
No, I
like.
think that the in thing is again, which is what I was saying, right? It's if you map on Dracula
Hmm.
onto this, you'll see similar in
Yeah,
structure.
yeah, yeah,
The in is the opening. It's
yeah,
for them. It's like the big opening. He can
yeah.
heal, but he can see you. You also see him be like a
He can kill
yeah.
also.
He can do either or, right? So you get
Yeah.
that big thing, and then the film just settles into this really boring mode where then there's no
So
interesting characters.
yeah,
Like
there isn't.
the
I mean, I found Sonia slightly interesting because she is almost like a groupie.
yes.
It's like a historical groupie
A
almost.
more
And
interesting film which so this is my other note was that this is the bad side of, I suppose, classy horror, if you can even call it that, because I was
okay.
like, what's the appeal of this version of hammer horror, one that's neither realistic nor
Hmm.
horrifying? Like that's the mode where this fell into for me, where I was like,
Yeah.
it's not a genre film which is doing the exploitation bit, because firstly you don't
Yeah.
see the exploitation, which is the sex, the violence,
Yeah.
the
I mean,
either
it's more
you
far-reaching in the obviousness of the sex, in that you see him undress women
yeah,
and
there's
stuff like that.
the provocative thing where he
Yeah,
like throws the sheets and it cuts
yeah,
to like the next scene. But like I'm saying, but a lot of the times the appeal, at least in nowadays, would be that The sex, the violence is the reason you want to watch these exploitation films. This isn't that. It's anyways, apart from that one or two scenes, it's too boring to be that.
Yeah.
It's bogged down with like unnecessary scenes of dialogues, and it had like, as I said, that Peter Cushing in that film is so
Yeah.
good because it represents the light side to Dracula's dark side. In this, the light
There's no
side is
counter.
no, there is Boris. He's just a boring counter.
I don't know whether he's because he's an enabler for most of the film, right? It's like that last 10 minutes I'll betray him and save
Yeah,
him
because this is also
immediately.
trying to do character study, na? Because I think this is trying
It's
to go. It's as if Dracula had a backstory, sort of like that,
I
right?
think what they could have leaned into more was why did he or why not broaden the sort of number of women on whom he has this kind of rapturous impact.
Yeah,
For instance, you're not going for factual biopic stuff, right?
of course. Yeah,
Show him sleeping with the Zaritsa. How does it matter?
yeah.
You need to prove that he is, of some sort of different make than other men that populate Russia at that
They
point
don't even
in history.
talk
They don't
about
even make that.
the size, right?
I mean, I
It's
think
the
that
eyes.
would be stretching the whole this thing of censorship, right?
Sir, you can
Pushing the
use so
boundary.
much innuendo in these films. Come on, I
But
like
if you
again.
see, but in innuendo, no, then it goes into the space where you are almost laughing, and then to
I
the
was,
maker,
I
I
wanted
was
to
laughing.
laugh.
I wanted to laugh too. I wanted some kind of emotional reaction, like
Yes.
fear, laughter, something,
Yeah.
right? But I think the film is just too coy, while at the same time trying to say that look at us trying to fit a genre film onto a
It's a
real life
prestige
person,
film. Yeah, it's a very boring prestige film, I
and it's
feel.
very cheaply made to be a prestige film. It's like
Yeah.
almost garish. I like some of the production design.
No,
It
I
doesn't.
don't mind it. It's just that
Yeah.
it's so like again, that's when I was thinking like there's one shot of I was like, ये palace का shot, did they like did they actually make the set, or did they just like take it
Yeah,
from another
take a
movie and
passing
put it
shot.
like an exterior shot and then
Yeah,
allow
it
them
was
to
something. It was something David Lean saw and nahi chahiye.
yeah,
And
because
they went into his studio and they stole that bit.
from
कि
Dr.
twist
Zhivago.
लगाना है इसको, yeah.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I mean, see, I apologize. I really like Dr. Zhivago. Okay, we've discussed
Yeah.
this in another podcast episode if you want to listen. But and of course, that film is masterfully directed and masterfully constructed. So it's
Yeah.
but it's almost like this. You mentioned it. Like, was there a coincidence that Dr. Zhivago released whatever a
Was
year
made the
back?
previous
I'm
year,
like,
yeah.
if this is attempting even to reach that, it's fails doing that spectacularly. Like, there's
I mean,
no.
it's like if you're standing outside the theater even as Zhivago runs and runs and runs into 1966, and you're
Yeah,
like, "Did you like Zhivago?"
yeah.
Yes, I have a proposition for you. Rasputin the Mad Monk. Did you like Zhivago? No. How about Rasputin the Mad Monk? And because you're in that frame of Imperial Russia mind, it's like a con job, basically.
Absolutely.
Because as an audience, you do feel con.
Yeah.
It does nothing transgressive. Forget transgressive. That's like too high an expectation.
Mhm.
It's not even bold.
It
It's
doesn't
not.
give you it doesn't give
I'm
you
like,
the
why should
value
I
for your
fear
movie.
this guy? Like, I'm honestly, women should fear him, but I don't
Mm.
have any reason to. You need to be able to scare every
Yeah,
community represented within the
yeah,
audience.
yeah.
What are men scared? How does
Yeah,
Rasputin
because
scare?
Dracula is scary, like in terms
Yeah,
of what he can do to a
yeah.
man also, right? Like, and
He
of
can
course
beat you up.
you
I mean, they try to give Rasputin the same attributes, but like, no, you
no,
can kill him
and there's this
ultimately,
whole
as it turns
thing.
out.
I mean, it's I guess as you're saying, the look into my eyes that I just can't take seriously because I've watched Sarabhai maybe too many times
No, you
and I
must
got
elaborate a little bit. So
I got
Dhruv
reminded of
messaged me about Makarand Deshpande, and I was like, Kallu Mama from Makdi. This could be
no, but
interesting.
he plays a cameo in Sara vs. Sarabhai, like in one of the
Okay.
episodes where he plays a hypnotist who comes to hypnotize like Maya, like the
And
Ratna Patak
Bhanushali,
character
yeah.
brings her, and he's hypnotizing everyone in the house, and Indravadan's making fun of him because he's like, इससे ज्यादा लाइक ये तेरी आंखों से ज्यादा तो कालवा देवी के कचरे का ढेर हिप्नोटाइजिंग होता है और लाइक हैव यू
Okay.
बीन टू ब्लू बिकिनी बियर बार वहां पे जाके हिप्नोटाइज डांसर्स को देख के ज्यादा हो जाता हूँ सो लाइक इट्स गॉट दैट थिंग एंड ही इज मेकिंग फन ऑफ हिज beard, like how long his beard is, and he's saying,
अच्छा बताओ, तुम्हारे बालों को लाल रंग सूट क्यों नहीं करेगा?
क्यों नहीं करेगा?
क्योंकि घास लाल रंग की होती नहीं लल्लू। आगे सुनो। और मोनिशा ये घास नहीं खाएगी, लेकिन साहिल जरूर खा लेगा। पूछो क्यों?
क्यों?
क्योंकि मोनिशा इज अ गर्ल एंड साहिल इज अ गाय। गाय घास, गॉट द कनेक्शन, द जोक।
मेरी आंखों में देख।
क्यों भाई, क्यों?
Look into my eyes. Left. Right.
and the image that came to my mind when I was watching this film was Makran Deshpande in Sara Bhai se Sara Bhai. So I was just like,
Yeah, I mean,
can't
they've
take this
already
seriously.
made a Hindi film with Hitler in which Raghubir Yadav played Hitler. So they might as well make a Hindi film about Rasputin, which Makran
When
Deshpande
did
plays Rasputin.
he play Hitler?
In this 2011 film called My Friend Hitler or My Dear Hitler, something like that.
Really?
It's about a letter Gandhi apparently wrote to Hitler that you stop killing people and stuff
Oh,
like that.
okay.
And
Wow.
Neha Dhupia played Eva Brown. And it gets funnier. Nasser, who's the secretary, the older Rajesh Kapoor's secretary in Om Shanti Om.
No, I
वो
know who
आकर
he
वो-
is. Yeah.
He plays Albert Speer, Hitler's architect.
Wow.
Aman Verma, the TV actor, plays somebody or the other. It's just
Amazing.
what?
Yeah. See, when I
there's
was
a screen legend which says 3rd September 1939, Poland, and पीछे आम का पेड़ है. अरे आम का पेड़ पोलैंड में.
Oh God. Anyways, so these are the sorts of reactions I want to have when watching Rasputin the Mad Monk. At least those. You know, like you want to have a camp reaction,
Yeah.
or if not, if you're not getting scared, then I'm like, or whatever, disturbed, because disturbed and scared, whatever. You want to have some reaction, right? And I was just like, this is so boring. Like, you know,
I mean,
this
such
is
an
so...
interesting mixture that Armando Iannucci manages to draw out of you in The Death of Stalin.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
you are kind of scared also.
There's that
provide,
moment
but
I
it
still
is
remember.
tremendously funny.
I still remember the moment in which they like just casually burn bodies.
Yeah.
And like it that's the one moment where it like switches amazingly from
Yeah.
like proper black humor to like super horrifying tragedy almost. So
Yeah.
none of that in this. Neither actually, neither tragedy nor sort of
Yeah,
well,
nothing.
humor
It's
though is
so
nothing.
flat. It's like,
Yeah. Like the
and he plays it
relationship.
also so one note.
Yeah,
It's
relationships between the characters are non-existent almost. Even
yeah,
like
you
there are,
build the relationship between him and the queen at least,
and
because
Sonia
so
like
much of
more also, like they
Sonia,
build it
I
a
mean, it
little
doesn't matter
bit.
because he spends more time with her than with the queen. But the
Yeah.
idea is that he should have some sort of rapport with her. It can't be just one meeting.
I hate to link this film to another film, but if you are ever interested in a film like this, which isn't, well, he's the anti-Rasputin in many ways, but if you're interested in a film like this, then Barry
As in,
Lyndon.
he actively refuses to have sex with women.
No. Anti-Rasputin in the sense that he's not allowed to go up the ranks in high society.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then Barry Lyndon, by
Okay.
Stanley Kubrick. I
Stanley
know
Kubrick.
it's a high benchmark, like very different films in that sense. But if you
Yeah,
want,
Don Sharp, nobody's heard of, and you
Yeah.
went straight to
no,
Kubrick.
because this reminded me a lot of Barry. I was like, I'd rather be
Yeah.
watching Barry Lyndon, which is 3 hours long, but like it's
And
it's
we all know how much Dhruv hates movies that are longer than 120 minutes.
no 90.
90, sorry, yes.
120 is
with
the
commercials
worst.
and the popcorn break.
No, 120 is the worst. 90, 180 is fine. No, 120 is also okay. Chalo, 120, 130 to 160 is the worst. That is the
Acha.
point where I'm like,
You're looking at your watch and you're like, when does this end?
yeah, because there are movies, no, but there's some horror movies like which are like 100 minutes. I'm like, why? Why is it not 90? You know, like it's like 100 क्यों? Like, you know, वो 10 मिनट लग पक्का कहीं ना कहीं पे extra ही होते हैं. Like, you know, it's that,
Right.
which is why Dracula was perfect. I was like 82 minutes. Beautiful. Like not all films need to be short, of course, but like, you know, it's there's no padding. These films are supposed to give you the bang for your buck, sort of like that. And in this whole movie feels like padding, essentially. Like there's no like
it's a backstory to something that has not been made.
Yeah,
It's like they
I'm like,
started with this and they were like, now we'll make more. And then they saw the
yeah,
reaction and they were like, okay, we need
I don't
to
think
make
it
it.
did super well also, like box office wise or
I mean,
whatever
do you
at that
want
time.
it if it turned a million profit?
No,
As
no, no.
long as
I
it
mean,
turned a profit, it didn't
I
matter
mean
at
in
that
terms
time.
of the Dracula Frankenstein thingy. Those made like a
Yeah, yeah,
lot of
lot of
money.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that this is also a time of rentals, right? Of
Yes.
VCRs and stuff.
No,
So
but you were saying, right, that there was a point when the Hammer horror film sort of stopped quality control, essentially.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because,
also when you're opening it out so much and trying to like churn films out
yeah.
without, there needs to be some sort of, it's like what Marvel are doing, right?
Hmm.
Whether you do it on a big scale and throw lots of money at it. Nakul Kamte has this, the sound designer has a great interview. Like if you wanted, um, you can have two things of three. It can be two out of three of good, fast, and cheap. If you wanted good and fast, it's not going to be cheap.
Hmm.
If you wanted good and cheap, it's not going to be fast.
Hmm. Got it.
And like that. So the thing is that with speed, you're often sacrificing quality, which is
Fast and cheap, essentially,
yeah,
right?
fast and
Hmm.
cheap, essentially.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's not good at all.
Yeah.
Like some of the recent Marvel stuff. You
Yeah.
watch the trailer and
I
you're
mean,
like,
that's
what?
not even cheap, but
I mean,
okay.
Akshay Kumar films, like which
Yeah,
he
yeah, yeah. I
makes,
mean, I mean, that's his.
he is Hammer Kumar in that sense. He just churns movies out left, right, and center.
I think
He's Ko- Kota Quickie Kumar, we should call him.
we can't
50
lump
movies in this year.
Hammer
I have
horror
to
को
do.
इतना नहीं बेइज्जत कर सकते हम, but ठीक
Like
है.
if he were to smile, like widely, and they were to just show his teeth, horror. हो गया, cinema.
Anyways,
Nothing
I
more
think
disconcerting than that man smiling.
mm, I don't know how many times I've said it. I really liked him as a comic actor. So
Yeah, so
yeah,
he's coming back with Bhoot Bangla with Priyadarshan.
yeah, well, okay. The horror
And
comedy,
Welcome to
of
the
course, you have
Jungle.
to. Yeah, I know that.
That to look forward to.
Heady face. But no, I'm curious to watch. Uh,
More.
I asked. No, Hammer horror. I'm
I'm
going back
horror,
to.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
No, no.
I
I'm
want to
curious.
watch The Hound of the Baskervilles for sure.
I want to watch Frankenstein because I'm always like intrigued by that sort of story
I
in
just
any
find
case.
the
But
concept of Frankenstein very annoying. Build a human being. I'm like, no, the problem
yeah,
is
but
the
that's the
human being.
yeah, but that's the problem. No, but wohi to problem hai that he builds the human being. He
Yeah.
plays God and he realizes that he shouldn't have
Sir,
done that.
I wish I got to play God. We
You
have such
can.
great population control, like in no time.
So you'll play. I was about to make a Marvel reference, but
I'll
I
just
will
start
go.
dumping people into the ocean. यहीं मर दो.
Okay. I
Suddenly
think
population density will drop.
should we should we
End on
end?
that horrific note. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I did not expect. I don't know what's up with you today. What is this horror mood? Is this like just like a Rasputin effect? Like you're so annoyed by it that you're wanting to
No,
kill everyone in your
that's the thing,
vicinity?
right? It's not significant enough for you to feel annoyed also that what a chutiya movie. Like, fuck, this is boring.
It is
Then you
boring.
check out. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Yeah, I messaged you 1 hour, 10 minutes because again, I generally don't message while watching
Yeah.
stuff. I was just like, this is such a
Do
such a
object to
flat movie.
pausing stuff also. तो
I was just
मतलब
like, this is such a
बहुत है.
flat movie. I'm like, क्या दिखा रहा है Varun? Like, in that sense. So, anyways. No, but I've watched too much like good horror stuff also recently.
Probably.
So, and also I've, the one thing I would say is, it's weird. I saw a similar sort of sign. No, well, not similar to this, but like I saw a Japanese film
Hmm.
2 3 days back, and I have issues with the way it's dramatized and how people speak. But my good lord, me, I don't know what is there like. And Rasputin released 1966, right?
Yeah.
During the year Rasputin released, there's a movie, like a Japanese movie that released in its
Hmm.
1966. And the way it's shot is so mesmerizing. I was just like, because that's the images that are sort of swirling in my
Yeah.
head still. It's called The Face of Another. And
Okay.
it's inspired a lot by sort of parts of surrealism, parts of, different, like other artists. And, of course, it's a more highbrow film, but like,
Yeah.
because I was watching Rasputin, I was like, what? Why is your production like? It's just so stale, like stale in a
Yeah.
boring way. And I was like, I saw Face of Another, and I was like, this just looks spectacular. Like it looks modern at this point in time. Like it looks
Yeah,
cold and sterile, like in a way which it's meant to be. Like
meant to be.
it's playing with like dream logic and everything. And okay, I understand the and I'm not sure if the Face of Another will be super expensive compared to something like Rasputin, right? Like it'll be in a similar ballpark, I would assume, because it's not a big film. But yeah, I'm just like, there's so much like visual ingenuity, especially during the late 50s, early 60s, and
Yeah.
especially after that, that I think there's an added, I guess, annoyance when I was watching Rasputin. I was like,
Yeah.
even in the way it's shot, I
Yeah.
just wanted it to be like, do something, like, do something with your, like, use your atmosphere, use your surrounding around you to do something to the people in it. Like it just doesn't feel like it's like they're standing there, that's it, like like filmed theater.
Like, oh, it's like they just threw some costumes on and what am I doing today? Okay,
Yeah,
Rasputin,
a bit
let's
like
go.
that, a bit like that, which is not there in at all in Dracula, which
Dracula,
again, which
which
is I think a good contrast. In
feels
some ways we get a
very
good and bad.
seamless and
Yeah,
put together as a film.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, that was my only annoyance, but yes, I think that's it.
After half an hour of complaining. But
Uh,
that was us on Hammer Horror. Two Hammer
yes.
Horror films. There's a humongous sort of
I mean, we chose
backlog.
two
Yeah, we chose two
because
films
we had
because
four
of
people.
limitations. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, otherwise generally pick three for this
Yeah.
type of thing, but doesn't. I think we got a good and bad, I
Good
suppose.
and bad, yeah.
Yeah. But this is very much our intro to it, so I don't think you should.
Yes.
So if
Take
you
our word for
actually,
anything.
no, you can take our word for it, but if you're not familiar with it, but if you are aware of Hammer Horror Move, do tell us.
Please tell us what is worth
Yeah,
watching and any other horror films.
yeah.
No horrific films. We've watched enough of those in our
As in
lives.
like bad, you
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't
Uh-huh.
want another Jani Dushman.
Oh, okay, that one.
Ever again.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, but yeah, I think that's it for Hammer Horror. This is a third episode for our Halloween month.
Nice.
So hopefully you guys who are not familiar with the Hammer Horror films got to know about it. Who are familiar with it, hopefully thought what we said was half interesting,
Yeah.
or provided something hopefully to think about, or whatever. Like
And we
I'm
hope
pretty sure
everyone is
most.
acquainted with Halloween. So we're not going to go there.
Yes, but no, most people don't know, I think, about Rasputin the Mad Monk. So you can just hear us rant about the movie then,
I mean,
which,
just read up about the guy actually. He's an
yeah,
endlessly fascinating figure. I'm going to go and watch some of the other films that have been made,
yeah.
especially the L.M. Klimov one and the one starring Alan Rickman, because I like Rickman as an actor.
I didn't know that L.M. Klimnov made
Yeah,
a
it was
film on it.
way before Come and See. Come and See was
Sure.
in 80s.
That's his last film, I think, right? He didn't make it because he was like,
Hmm.
what do you make after this, sort of like that, essentially.
Okay. I mean,
But
even the Rasputin biopic didn't release for the longest time.
sure, okay. Anyways, but yeah, that's this episode. You can like, share, and subscribe this episode if you want to. You can follow us on Instagram at queenisdead.film podcast. You can follow me at Terminal Cinema. You can follow Varun at Varun
Varun on film. Sorry,
Varun on
I keep
film.
forgetting.
Yeah, so I was like, you have two accounts. I don't know which one to
And
sort
three.
of three. Okay.
One is for
Yeah.
writing.
Oh, sure. Okay. So yes, you can follow us there. Our last episode for this month will be on Varun's favorite film, The Shining. I don't know if Varun's joining us for this.
I don't know. Are you calling me?
It's a
We'll talk about it.
No, it's a very packed episode, so I can call you, but let's see. But because I want,
Okay.
if I have a dissenting voice, that's
Great.
better.
And
But
also,
anyways,
I live far enough from the rest of you guys.
I
तू
won't
होगा
hit
तो सिर्फ
you.
मेरा होगा.
I'm the person who's had a flip, so I'm
Okay,
coming from
interesting.
that POV. But anyways, Varun might come for that. I'm not
Yeah.
sure, but he'll be there for some live stream. I'm sure again if
Not
he's free.
Dopatti for certain, but yeah,
What's Dopatti?
Kajol's new movie.
I don't know about that. But
Shock me.
I like Kajol. That doesn't mean I follow
Exactly.
her. I don't want to like religiously follow every film she makes. But anyways, I
It's a
think
miracle
that's yeah. I
because
think
she's
that
only made bad ones in the recent past.
I think that's on that note. Maybe we should watch Gupt as a horror film this year. But
Bobby Deol, horrifying
yes.
enough.
Anyways, I think that's enough. We've included a whole load of Hindi films, film references in this one.
References. Yeah.
For whoever thinks they are unwanted, I apologize because they will always be there in some
Wanted
supply.
in like a podcast which is populated by Hindi speaking Indians.
Yeah, there will always be that. Sorry.
Lastly.
But yes, thank you so much for listening and khatam.